¿A dónde está papi? 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 ¿A dónde está papi?
Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Wednesday stream. I hope everyone's having an awesome Wednesday. Welcome, everybody. Derry Bennett, Q Bennett, Heat, Conscious Canuck, thank you for the lurk. Thanksgiving is tomorrow. That is true. That is very true. At the very least, it is a short work week. The work week is done, at least for me. So that's good. I love beverages. No, it's not spelled right in the command. I thought I fixed that, by the way. Mouselander, how's it going? I was under the impression that that was fixed, but I guess not. I guess not. Cosmic Seeking, how's it going? Alio, how's it going? Welcome, everybody. Chatbot, chat commands. Custom commands. Let me edit this. You're fired. Alright, it's fixed. It's fixed, okay? I have it on good account that the command has been fixed. You're rehired. Okay. There you go. Alright. NBC News. Okay. NBC News is 38 million distinct Puerto Rican words like Hebo, Huruntungo, and Perreo have been submitted to the Spain's Royal Academy to be considered to be the global arbiter of Spanish language. So they're just gonna insert, I guess, slang. Republican projection strikes again. The wife of Jeremy Taylor, the former Republican congressional candidate, is found guilty of staggering 50 counts. Oh, yeah, we're going to talk about that. The infamous January 6th insurrectionist who defied the judge with unhinged outbursts and refusals gets a longer planned sentence. Wait, I think if that's the same person, I think we're also going to talk about it. Shucks, you have a kamikaze car at the border bridge? Yeah, there's there's a lot of information that's still coming. I mean, like, I think that as of right now, what we can say is that it appears that some type of explosion happened at the Rainbow Bridge. And it appears that it might have been intentional. I think 2 people that were in the car might have passed away, might have died. But that's about as much as we know right now. It's pretty disturbing if it ends up being some kind of attack. But yeah, it sounds like an explosion happened related to like a vehicle trying to run the border, I guess. I don't know. So they tried to go through the thing. The vehicle blew up. I think explosives were not confirmed to be found. I don't know. A lot of this is still developing, so we'll just, like, the more information we get, like, the more we'll be able to talk about it. but supposedly a vehicle explosion. It seems intentional, and a couple people have died. Two, I believe. Yes, the New York border. Say what? Where? Apparently, there was a explosion at the Rainbow Bridge, uh, which is by the Canadian U.S. border up by New York, and apparently, it is currently being investigated by all the, you know, by all the appropriate three-letter agencies like the FBI and whatnot. Border closed on the busiest day of the year. Yeah. Yep. And I found news of another Republican supporter who committed sex crimes. A woman Republican supporter. I mean, yeah. Was it the type of person that like was like was it the type of person who was like, oh yeah, the OK Groomer crowd? Is it one of those OK Groomer Republicans? I'm pretty sure I posted a... Oh yeah, here we are. All right, so right now this is the I guess latest. Newark governor has said that no indication of deadly vehicle explosion was terrorist related. An explosion that killed at least one person. Okay, so we know one person that died in a car that crashed in the U.S. Canada Rainbow Bridge does not appear terrorist related. I want to be very clear to Americans and New Yorkers at this time. There's no indication of any terrorist attack. At least one person died in the explosion. The incident occurred shortly before noon in a car that at the border of the bridge connecting Canada to New York State. It's very obvious a very serious situation, said the Canadian Public Safety Minister. We're taking the circumstances very seriously, but to speculate on the origin of this particular circumstance and the reasons why this may have happened until we have more accurate information is simply not responsible. So that's basically all we know. Essentially. Breaking. Donald Trump marks the holiday season with a deeply deranged and lengthy rant about how great his rallies are and how they're always sold out. A bizarre topic, giving his growing indictments demands clearly he's rotten away to nothing. In a Truth Social post, Trump said that many times that he's making a speech, there's always sold out, and so lots of people can't get to the venue. The fake news will see people come down from the rafters. That's funny. All right, we got to get this show started, folks.
Defense industry executives and their Wall Street investors are getting really excited about the number of global crises we've got going on.
They're winners and losers. If you look at the defense stocks in America, they're the winners in this situation.
This seems to fit quite nicely with the Raytheon defense portfolio.
We're on a kind of a peacetime mindset for the last several decades. We need to ramp up to more of a wartime footing.
The unfortunate reality that conflict is good for these stocks.
Now,
The unfortunate reality is that conflict is good for these stocks. Man, isn't that like a verdict of like... Isn't that a verdict of capitalism? So what you're saying is that like capitalism incentivizes war because it provides profits, which provides the stock value to enrich these wealthy investors and whatever. That's interesting. Michael Hasser, welcome. That's right, subscribe to the YouTube.
We're not a foreign policy organization. More Perfect Union covers the American economy with a working class lens. But here's the thing. Politicians...
Well, but that absolutely, like the war machine absolutely, well, involves any domestic coverage, right? Because it's our tax dollars that are investing and that are, being invested in this.
From both parties are trying to convince us that foreign wars are good for improving America's working class.
I'm going to send to Congress an urgent budget request to support our critical partners, including Israel and Ukraine.
The supplemental the president put forward invests to ensure our military readiness and create American jobs.
The overwhelming majority has, in fact, gone to supporting American jobs.
The overwhelming majority has gone to support jobs.
In manufacturing American jobs.
This supplemental does build up that industrial base.
This money is going to create jobs for Americans.
Equipment that defends America and is made in America.
This isn't a new...
Bombs that are... Listen, Jack. These bombs are going to be made in America, okay, Jack? So that's why it's good. It's good for the economy. We make bombs, which makes jobs, which enrich the military-industrial complex, but that's okay, because it's American.
New strategy. For more than 80 years, politicians and the corporate elite have told us that war creates jobs.
Imagine you would not be in favor of Hamas and Putin coming out on top on present wars. What does that have to do with the topic at hand? We don't need to increase the defense budget. We're literally just like pouring money into nothing, into the ether. We're literally just like pouring money into the ether. You know how I know this? Why can't the Pentagon pass a financial audit? Where the heck is all that money going? That's a question.
And economic stimulus for all of us. The reality is that defense spending has become yet another mechanism by which wealth is transferred from the working class to the elites. And this one is getting people killed. It's the result of decades of consolidation, government capitulation, and the defense industry ripping off Uncle Sam with incompetence and greed. This...
True! Your impression needs work. In my opinion, 4 more years for comedy's sake. No, please, no. Listen, it's not that funny, okay? To fight wars, you have to create equipment to defend yourselves and avoid breakdown of world order. Nah, I'm good. How about like no wars? How about that one? And also, again, if the Pentagon cannot pass a budget, cannot pass a financial audit. I meant financial audit. Where's all that money going? Why do we need hundreds of billions of dollars? Explain that one to me. Why do we need to keep giving the defense 800 and something billion dollars and only increases every time this comes around? And we don't even know like where that money is going, to who, to what programs. Because if the Pentagon can't explain to us, the taxpayers, where that money is going to, why do we keep giving them more money? We haven't even given our people health care. We haven't even given our people health care. And we want to spend 800 and something billion dollars. I believe the number that I remember was 860 something billion dollars. And we can't give our people health care? We can't fund universal college? Seems to me like our priorities are all kind of back-asswards, if you ask me.
Is the classroom for More Perfect Union. And today we're talking about war. Who is it good for?
War! Who is it good for? Raytheon and Lockheed Martin.
Boys, the War Manpower Commission wants some of us to change over.
I think even an uneducated view of where your government money goes is hardly intellectually challenging. What does that even mean? What is this gobbledygook? What does that even mean? Like, literally, that you just said nothing. I don't understand what this means. Explain this one to me. The money ends up at the grocery stores or heating people. No, it doesn't. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? How do you know that? The Pentagon can't even pass an audit. What are you talking about? This is literally clown logic. Explain this one to me. Explain this one to me and then justify the 860 something billion. No, hold on. Explain this to me, why we keep giving $860 billion to defense when the Pentagon can't even pass a financial audit. Where is that money going to? The answer is you don't know because they don't know. They can't pass a financial audit. So why are we giving them more money? It's that simple. Jesus.
For the war industry. Leo, you want a job? Okay with me.
When politicians say that war is good for the economy, they often evoke one specific war.
Just as in World War II, today patriotic American workers are building the arsenal of democracy.
The industrial
We're building the bombs of freedom, okay? Listen, we're building the bombs that will literally free the shit out of you if you have oil. I mean, we're not going to say that one out loud, right? We're going to scratch that one from the record. How many people or troops or sailors draw wages? Wages is not the same as giving Raytheon fucking new governmental contracts. Okay? And do we need $868 billion to maintain a defense budget? No, we do not. How do I know this? Because we literally spend so much in comparison to literally the entire planet. We have the defense budget to literally fight God himself, okay? It's unnecessary when we don't even have health care. Like, how is that even acceptable? Rationalize this for me. Make it make sense. How many people who make steel for the military and take wages home? Why can't the Pentagon pass an audit? Where is that money going to? Why do we need $868 billion for the defense budget? Rationalize that. We don't have health care. We don't have universal college. We don't have food and housing secured. How does that justify the $868 billion? No, you keep saying that, but it's just nonsense. You're just literally speaking nonsense. Last week, is America willing to spend in different direction and every category gets audited, not just health and human services? Yeah, we don't even have good infrastructure. We don't have good infrastructure. We don't have healthcare. We don't have a lot of stuff that are just like basic stuff. And like, we're justifying a multi $100 billion expense on the military when it's not necessary at all. Like, that argument actually really falls flat. Oh, well, it ends up in people's homes and wages. Okay, we can build more stuff that would equal in more jobs elsewhere. We can build an entire healthcare system that would create more jobs. We could build programs for universal college that would create more jobs, like, by definition. President Biden did sign an infrastructure bill. Yeah, but we could do more, which would also create more jobs. So there's the answer to that. There's your answer. So it's pretty much like a useless like point to make. When you can't seem to answer that question, like why can't they pass an audit, and why are we continuing to give them more money? Plus, Americans are debt trapped, put in difficult financial situations where they take shittier jobs for shittier pay. Yep. You could, and meanwhile, your enemies would take over America. What are you talking about? Who? Listen, folks, I'm sorry. We can't spend money on healthcare. We can't spend money on healthcare and actual like things that we want, because we have to like fearmonger about enemies, I guess. This doesn't make any sense. This is ridiculous.
Build-up for World War II created nearly 20 million jobs and increased wages in manufacturing across industries. When the war ended, the effects stuck around. Income and wealth were more distributed, union membership and power increased, and women and black Americans who entered the workforce during the war stayed in the workforce. And that's because President Franklin Delano Roosevelt actually pushed back against the big businesses that were building war supplies. Before World War II, there was no dedicated defense industry. So everyday industry like car makers pivoted to war supplies. FDR made it mandatory for those contractors to follow labor protection laws and respect unions, and he enforced it. Ford Motors won a contract to make military trucks, but refused the labor protections. So FDR canceled the contract. Labor historians say this led to Ford's historic unionization just months later. FDR even threatened to seize patents for big industries that weren't helping what was perceived as the national interest. There were protections in place to prevent rampant profiteering. Then, after the war, the GI Bill gave returning troops economic opportunities like college tuition and home loans. That combination of...
yeah, but there's an asterisk on that one. There's a couple of asterisks on that. Yeah, enemies will just come dancing through. Hey, listen, if we spend only like 500 billion, that's it, dude. America's over. Okay, we have to spend almost $1 trillion. Okay, no questions asked. Don't ask where that money is going. Just accept it. Okay. Are these points being sarcastic? I don't know. They're being delusional right now. Cosmic Seeking is delusional right now. They're like in another planet. Because corporations need eternal growth, and since people can't support their bottomless greed, the government has to feed them. True. I blame Canada. Yeah, dude, if we don't spend $800 billion in the feeding the war machine, then America is done.
Regulation and smart social spending led to good economic times for America's middle class and played a big role in why the boomer generation had it relatively easier financially. But that same time period also created the permanent defense industry. There were always war profiteers, but never an entire industry that existed for war. In 1950, the State Department, with help from the Department of Defense, put together a 66-page top-secret document called NSC 68 and presented it to President Truman. NSC 68 argued that the Soviet Union was a massive threat, and the United States needed to start spending to build up its military immediately. But beyond building up the Soviets as the enemy, the report also pointed to the, quote, lessons of World War II to justify increased military spending. It would be good for the economy, they said. That report formed the basis of America's Cold War strategy. Military spending as a percent of GDP nearly tripled in just a few months. Years later, the men who wrote the report admitted they were selling a story and bludgeoning the mind of top government into building America's military power. There was the infamous Lockheed loan, where President Nixon wrapped $250 million loan to the warplane manufacturer into a jobs bill. The Secretary of the Treasury at the time...
Yeah, now these people are uber rich and have a lot of influence in Congress to keep that going. And, like, you want to justify all this? This seems kind of silly, right? Like, I'm pretty sure that any rational person would see this and be like, wow, this is absurd.
Time admitted the bailout was so that Lockheed could, quote, minimize losses and provide employment. In 1973, Israel was at war, and Washington was debating emergency security funding. Sound familiar? In one meeting, Nixon admitted to goose the economy, the private sector is the best place. In government, the best place is the military. His administration continued to push the point that Israel funding was good for the American economy. There was some dissent from Senator Joe Biden. Economic historian Tim Barker points to an amendment Biden suggested. It is not a proper function of the Department of Defense in determining the amount of the budget for that department for any fiscal year to make allowances for amounts needed to help stimulate or otherwise affect a change in the domestic economy. But it didn't work. The spending was approved.
That's wild. Where's that Biden? Well, okay, listen. He had a lot of shit takes back then, but that particular take was correct.
But the defense industry wouldn't always be flying high. In the early 90s, something terrible happened. Peace.
In Moscow, the hammer and sickle is lowered for the last time, and an era comes to an end.
Sometimes nothing brings people together like a nice hot pizza from Pizza Hut.
What? That was a Pizza Hut ad? Since then, he has drunk the Kool-Aid. Yeah, I guess so.
When the Cold War ended, a major part of the dialogue is what effect it would have on the economy, specifically jobs.
What are your thoughts on what Mr. Bush had to say?
He almost does not allow himself the luxury of expressing a thought on foreign policy without quickly saying, folks, I'm also worried about the economy.
One congressman even said, the truth is, we are not prepared for peace in the world. For the first time since it was created, the war industry was in decline. But then, in 1993, one top-secret dinner party changed everything. Leadership from the Department of Defense, reacting to the spending climate, invited the executives of the nation's defense companies to a dinner at the home of Deputy Defense Secretary William Perry. He showed the executives a presentation. Big Pentagon budget cuts meant that there wouldn't be enough money to keep so many defense companies alive. They'd have to merge to survive. But get this. After a few months of lobbying by the industry, the Pentagon agreed to pay for the company's restructuring costs. Not just allowing, but encouraging the creation of near monopolies. Lockheed merged with Martin Marietta to form Lockheed Martin. Northrop merged with Grumman to form Northrop Grumman, and so on. And they just made the Pentagon pay for all the costs. Nearly 200...
Hey, look at that. Socializing the profits and... privatizing the profits and socializing the costs. Look at that. Nice. But lobbyists do not want peace, no revenue. Is it a cliche? I mean, if they're private defense companies, no, they don't want peace. Because then that means their profits go down and they can't have that. Which is basically what Cosmic Seeking was advocating for. He was advocating on behalf of these companies. Which is wild. And of course, Congress goes along with this. And that's why we have an ever-increasing defense budget that can't be explained, that can't pass audits, and we continue to just give them blank checks effectively. So no, I think to say that like we're done, we should be done spending more money on the defense until we find out what the heck is going on. I think that's a fair ask. And the fact that, like, we consistently put more and more money towards wars, it's enough is enough. You know, I think it's probably better if we spend more money on trying to get healthcare, if we spend more money on trying to revamp our crumbling infrastructure, if we spend more money trying to move away from fossil fuels and provide the infrastructure necessary for green energy. I mean, like, all of this stuff is a way better investment than the military in terms of, like, benefits to society. Does any government really account for every penny? Too much work? What other parts of the government are failing audits this consistently?
$100 million in just 3 years. Eventually, 51 major companies became just 5. And the narrative that defense sales helped the economy just kept going.
I think actually the spending in the war might help with jobs. Yeah, because we're buying equipment and people are working. I think this economy is down because we built too many houses.
$110 billion, 450,000 jobs.
It's 500,000 jobs.
600,000 jobs.
600,000 jobs. Jobs, jobs, jobs. Jobs, bombs, and jobs. Join the Discord.
Maybe more than that.
Lockheed Martin has brought nearly 3,000 jobs to Alabama.
3,000 jobs to Alabama for making bombs. You hear that, Jack? Now that is American engineering.
I'm proud to be here to announce that Raytheon Raphael is building a new $33 million facility in East Camden. The site will create 30 new jobs.
And the contractors themselves made that argument too. William Hartung writes about Lockheed Martin's 2009 push for funding for their F-22 Raptor, with giant ads that said 300 million protected, 95,000 employed everywhere. The ads continued with breakdowns of supposed jobs per state, a clear appeal to lawmakers. If you don't give us this money, your state will lose jobs. But Hartung's research found that the job claims were grossly exaggerated.
Just like every single company that wants to like get some free government shit, it's always the same. Remember when Amazon threatened New York, saying like, well, if you don't give us all these freebies, then we're just not gonna make it our plant here, and then like they did it anyways because oh man, phenomenal. Oh, when Bush was president, we made fun of his Bushisms. Little did we know about Trump. True.
Estimates included things like staff at restaurants near weapons plants where workers could eat lunch. In 2012, Lockheed Martin threatened their own workers for political gain. They sent a memo to employees saying they'd be laid off if President Obama won because he'd cut defense spending. Look.
Jesus, that's disgusting. That's disgusting. Like, imagine supporting this. Imagine thinking that this is okay. Wow.
Obviously, people need jobs, and defense manufacturing jobs are seen as valuable and important in key areas around the country. But let's be honest about this. Job creation is a mere afterthought. Pennies that the defense industry drops while walking away with a giant bag of loot. Let's dig in on this. Is building weapon systems actually the most effective way to create jobs and build an economy for everyone?
No, and also they don't care necessarily about the jobs. They care about what the end profit is going to be. That's what they give a shit about. They don't care if they create 1 job or 1,000 jobs. They're not really interested in that. It's what the portfolio looks like the next quarter. What the stock value looks like. That's what they care about.
Research at the Watson Institute of Brown University found that over the past 2 decades, the Department of Defense takes an average of $260 billion a year out of the national budget. They calculated what could have been done with that budget, jobs-wise. Spending that same amount on clean energy or healthcare would have created 50% more jobs. And
there you go. There's the answer to like, oh, but the jobs. Dude, we can literally be spending all this money into literally anything else that's way more productive and way more stimulating to the economy, that actually helps everybody involved.
Education spending would have doubled the amount of new jobs. Today, all of that theory is being confirmed by economic reality. The billions we've spent in Ukraine simply aren't creating new jobs. You can even track how money going directly to specific contractors doesn't create jobs. Reporting from Common Dreams found that from 2012 to 2018, Lockheed Martin's share of the American tax dollar increased by $13 billion. But in the same time, they cut more than 16,000 jobs. The situation was similar at Boeing and Raytheon. The only companies that added jobs only did so because they sucked up smaller companies and technically added their employees to their payroll. And defense companies also don't care about the unions. Taylor Barnes at Inkstick Media reported that arms companies are constantly moving.
But the GOP doesn't want clean energy bills to pass. Oh, to be fair, the Democrats aren't really doing much on that end. You don't really have much momentum behind a lot of clean energy bills to begin with. And that's largely because of the fossil fuel lobby.
Moving their plants to states with right-to-work laws and other weak labor protections. Big union wins from World War II aren't sticking around. Lockheed had 69% unionization in 1971 and 19% in 2022.
Jesus.
Only 4% of North...
That is a complete 180. Holy yikes. Going from like 69% to just 19%? Jesus.
The Grumman workers are unionized. And the jobs aren't even staying in America. One labor leader claimed a Lockheed union negotiator said to him, "We are actively looking for ways to outsource your job." Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense Justin McFarland recently told a conference of military contractors that the DoD would support flexible acquisition, which means moving some manufacturing to allies and partners. And the defense companies work real hard to keep it this way. In 2022, when then Representative Mondaire Jones introduced an amendment that would ban companies with NLRB or FLSA labor violations from getting defense contracts, the industry came out swinging to destroy it. They won and bragged about it. They'd keep their flow of government cash coming with no responsibility to respect workers' rights. And they can get away with it because of the monopoly they hold, which they also use to rip off the government and the taxpayer.
Yeah, so why do we keep pouring hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars again? Like, explain to me, like, why we should justify this. $857.9 billion. Because tradition.
A 2015 DoD review of contracts found that Lockheed Martin and Boeing were overcharging the government on a rocket program by hundreds of millions of dollars. The F-35 is another case of a legendarily ridiculous project. The government has given over $1 trillion to Lockheed Martin for a jet that just keeps having disasters, extending the length of the expensive project.
The U.S. military is scrambling to recover an F-35 stealth fighter that crashed into the South China Sea on Monday.
And they're straight up stealing, too. A government task force found tens of billions of dollars of waste, fraud, and abuse in military contracts, all in the name of building war machines. So where is all that money going? To create a risk-free investment for banks and the elite at the expense of working people, the taxpayer, and global peace. And that's not just me saying that. The Department of Defense figured it out. In April of 2023, the DoD did a report on procurement. That's what they call buying stuff.
Yeah, 50% of it disappears into the Pentagon, never to be seen again. Yeah, apparently, since they can't seem to be able to pass financial audits. Well, how many palms are greased? Any real movement to progress in any other areas of life? We're not talking about any other areas of life. We're talking about this.
They focused on 2009 through 2019 and found a few key points. Defense company profits and margins are up, but they're not spending those gains on new technology. Research and development spending are down. But in the same time, money handed to shareholders went up by 73%.
Nice.
The report also finds that the defense companies generate total returns to shareholders well in excess of what one might expect given their relative low risk to investors. Translated, a not-so-risky gamble is making a small group of people a lot of money. Again, that's the Department of Defense saying that. It's research prepared for and by them. They know what's happening, and they're letting it happen. Remember those folks we heard from at the beginning of the video?
They're winners and losers.
This seems to fit quite nicely.
An important base.
Ramp up to more of a wartime footing.
Conflict is good for these stocks.
When you hear these executives in this context, you know who they're talking to. Shareholders. That's who the defense companies are legally beholden to.
Right, because it's for profit. It's for profit. If it's a private company, it's for profit. So the only thing that they care about at the end of the day, regardless, is what that number looks like at the end of the quarter.
Not working Americans, not the military they claim to support, and certainly not the people in the countries our military and its allies use the defense companies' products in.
The business is killing it, literally killing it.
The post-World War II economy that people look back upon wasn't from blindly pouring money into defense, but smart social and domestic spending. We should and could be investing in things that make our lives better and create good-paying unionized jobs nationwide. But we can't do that when we're clinging onto a myth sold to us by some of the wealthiest people in America, who are literally killing it. Their words, not mine. Thank you so much for watching, and if you want...
Yeah, so I mean, like, basically he reached, they basically made the same point that I did. We could literally be putting money into, like, literally anything else. We could be making universal health care. We could make college. We could make sure that we have housing programs, food. I mean, like, literally anything else. In infrastructure projects, move towards a renewable energy grid that requires a lot of freaking work. We could literally be doing any combination of those things, and it would be much better for everybody involved. Everybody in this country, than to be spending that into a endless black hole that we just keep pouring money into and just never see it. Yeah, we could literally be putting money to fight climate change. Literally just anything else that would significantly help this country more. But, you know, when you have private interests that get involved, that all goes out the window because the profits come first no matter what. And ultimately, that's what's at play here. All right, folks. I got to talk about this because I couldn't go over this article yesterday. As much as 1.1 million gallons of oil leaked from the pipeline near Louisiana, said the Coast Guard. Federal authorities are investigating a leak from an underwater oil pipeline off the coast of Louisiana that may have released up to 1.1 million gallons of crude oil into the Gulf of Mexico. An oil sheen seen on the water around 9 a.m. Thursday, and the Third Coast Midstream Pipeline Company reported a pipeline leak 10 minutes later. According to NOAA, an overflight at 2 p.m. that day reported a slick that was 3 to 4 miles wide with dark oil scattered throughout. The National Transportation Safety Board said on Twitter that it sent a 4-person team to do a safety investigation to determine the cause of the leak about 19 miles offshore near Plaquemines Parish, southeast of New Orleans. The 67-mile long pipeline was closed Thursday morning by Main Pass Oil Gathering Company. Several federal, state, and local agencies are investigating the source of the leak, with the Coast Guard leading the cleanup operations. I wonder if the company is going to be paying for this. The volume of the discharge oil is currently unknown, said the Coast Guard. Initial engineering calculations indicated potential volume of crude oil that could have been released from the affected pipeline is about 1.1 million gallons. The Coast Guard added that there have been no reports of injuries or shoreline impacts as of Monday. The Coast Guard has activated the National Response Team, which includes 15 departments and agencies responsible for coordinating their response to oil and hazardous substance pollution incidents, Reuters reported. Multiple overflights to assess the incident were conducted over the weekend, according to the Coast Guard. Overflight teams observed oil sheens in the surface of the water, the Coast Guard said, and remotely operated vehicles were deployed Friday to search for the source of the leak along the pipeline. 3 skimming vessels were also deployed to recover oil on the surface. Additional surface observations are ongoing with 2 Coast Guard cutters on scene and additional overflights. The Third Coast Guard Infrastructure LLC, which owns Main Pass Oil Gathering, declined USA Today's request for comment on Monday. Thousands of oil spills in the U.S. occur each year, but most are small in size, spilling less than 1 barrel of oil. But since 1969, an oil spill in Santa Barbara, California, NOAA said there have been at least 44 oil spills, spilling over 420,000 gallons in U.S. waters. The area of the Gulf of Mexico has faced several oil spills, including the largest and worst oil spill in history, the 2010 Deepwater Horizon well blowout. On April 20th of 2010, the Deepwater Horizon oil rig exploded, killing 11 people and released 210 million gallons of crude oil in the Gulf of Mexico for a total of 87 days. Oil slicks from the blowout covered an area of 57,000 square miles. The Coast Guard also reported last year that April of 2019, 1 million gallons of oil had been collected at the Gulf of Mexico off Louisiana as a result of the 2004 Taylor Energy oil spill. The spill is considered to be the nation's largest oil spill, leaking for the past 19 years. It began when Hurricane Ivan caused an underwater mudslide in September and destroyed an oil production platform about 11 miles. Yeah, I mean, I guess we should keep using this product, right? It's been great. It's been doing wonders, right? Pipelines don't leak. What are you talking about? Yeah, poor marine life. But I guess we should keep supporting this industry because it creates jobs or something, right? Solar is too easy, and those wind things are unsightly. The birds, it kills the birds. Drill, baby, drill. All right. We're going to shift gears into a more, sort of more light, video, okay? Because, it's, I think it's well deserving, especially, since it's going to be the last stream of the week. Tomorrow, there will be no stream. Also, folks, before I continue, join the Discord, folks, and, let me see if I have this up here. Inolis, welcome. Okay. See if I can do this. All right, so you all see this, right? Okay, phenomenal. This is the Discord, and currently, if you go to the Discord, there's going to be a new channel. Lots of cooking and podcast watching, not gonna lie. That sounds pretty chill to me. Zeoduke, #1 YouTube fan. That's right, like the stream. If you go into the Discord and go to the community polls, which is a new channel that I made, you can vote with a reaction on these topics, and then we'll just like throw a random movie that generates these that fits these topics, and we'll go from there. Right now, tentative. The movie day is supposed to be Saturday about 6 p.m. Eastern time. That's the goal. That's the plan until unless something changes. That's what we're gonna shoot for unless something changes. So yeah, join the Discord. Go vote. Go vote with the little reacts. Make your voices heard. Okay. Yeah, if not this time, then the next. Like, honestly, if there's some extenuating circumstances where we can't make this happen, then we'll try again. We'll try again. We'll make this one. This is pretty much the last weekend of the month. So maybe we can do another one on the last weekend of next month. Like we'll try to make something happen. That's where I watch most of my podcasts, to be fair. I think the most common podcast that I watch is the Majority Report. Also, you don't have to join the Discord just for the movie night, okay? You can join the Discord just to hang out or just to get updates on the channel. All right, that being said, let's lighten up a little bit. Yeah, it's cozy. It's cozy. There's like 130 something folks in the Discord, and I just did some revamping. So yeah. Yeah, we're going to be making a few changes. Exactly. If you look at the Discord, it looks nothing like it did before. And I'm still working on it. There's a couple things that I still need to figure out. But yeah, I think so far I'm pretty happy with it. And but yeah, as soon as I get the chance, I'm going to be doing more stuff behind the scenes. Renaming some of these channels. Still debating on whether to keep some of the channels or make more channels. I'm not sure of how this is going to go, but yeah, we'll see. All right.
Good afternoon, matrons, incubators, and potential mistresses. I should thank our hosts for the event, the Maternal Order of Mothers, for inviting me. I should, but I'm not going to. I'd rather not be here. I'm not even being paid. But my chief of staff said I should make an appearance before a women's group because now that there's a backlash against us for overturning Roe v. Wade and trying to ban abortion everywhere and at all times, the party is pushing us to appeal to the female demographic. So that's what I'm here to do, provided you flock of hens can keep from clucking while the rooster is up here crowing. As your Republican candidate, I'm here to tell you and everyone watching on C-SPAN, hello, civic-minded dorks, and people whose remotes are broken.
Memo for the record, welcome. And ban books, that's right.
I'm here to tell you about the Republican Party's pro-women agenda. Whatever that is. We say we're the party for women. We say we're the party that respects women. I know why we say it. Because men living 100 years ago suffered a bout of temporary insanity and wrote a woman's right to vote into the Constitution. So now, if we want to win elections, we have to appeal to women, even though I have no idea what the appeal of the Republican Party to women could possibly be. We're the party that respects women. What does that even mean?
Easy jokes. Yeah, I mean, yeah. I mean, it's low-hanging fruit, okay? I'm here for the entertainment.
Respects women as what? As individuals? As equals to men? I don't. No man in the Republican Party I know of does. Maybe some of you are thinking, oh, but my husband, or my brother, or my father, or my son, they're Republicans and they respect women. Let me tell you something, sugar. If he really respected you and cared about you being treated equally, he wouldn't be a Republican. Because respecting women ain't what we do. You might as well be saying, oh, but my python would never eat a mouse. You fucking twits. Not that I'm complaining. Where would men like me be without women like you enabling us and supporting us and excusing every horrendous thing we say and do? We're not the party of women. For Christ's sake.
I mean, like, yeah, this is pretty true. No, some of those, these are good. The C-SPAN dork one and the accompanying joke were both canned jokes. The human incubator slayed me. I think it's more of a commentary than a joke. Yeah, it's like satire, but also true. Okay. What do we call that? It's I guess it is. I guess it is just commentary, right? Because it's not. I mean, it's funny, but it's true. Yeah. Only C-SPAN watchers are people with broken TV remotes. True, or really political, nerdy people like me.
We're the party of men who want to keep women under control. Why do you think we've spent the last 60 years turning terms like women's liberation and women's empowerment and feminism into scare words for our base? It's not because we're on your side, ladies. I mean, look at what we stand for as a party. What women's issues are we Republicans fighting for? Income equality? The fact that American women, on average, only make 80 cents for every dollar a man makes? You think we give a shit about that? Hell, thanks to decades of propaganda dedicated to convincing people that the gender pay gap doesn't exist, even though it's a statistical fact, most of you women in this room right now don't give a shit about it. If you did, you wouldn't be here. Or at least you wouldn't be listening so politely. What else? Reproductive rights? If we had our way, none of you would have health coverage for anything, including reproductive care. But that goes for everyone, not just women. We're committed to the equal opportunity principle when it comes to depriving people of opportunities. No, we're not going to fight for your reproductive rights. We've made fighting against them one of the cornerstones of our agenda.
Yeah, that never made any sense to me. Like how, like, there are even, like, conservative, like, they're actively, like, cheering on conservatives, like women who actively cheer on conservatives. It never made any sense to me, at all.
We fought birth control. We're still fighting it. We'll outlaw it the first chance we get because fuck you. And we fought abortion and got the Supreme Court decision guaranteeing your right to that overturned and immediately started outlawing it everywhere we could because fuck you too.
True. Like literally, like if Republicans like wanted to be really honest with everybody, that's literally what happened. That's literally what happened. Added 9 more emojis to the server for a grand total of 10. Nice. Join the Discord. See? We got stuff going on.
I saw some of you ladies nodding in agreement when I started in on the anti-abortion stuff, and that just goes to show how good I am at my job. What could I possibly say to convince so many of you that you shouldn't have the right to decide for yourselves whether you get or stay pregnant? What can I say? I can make it a moral crusade because you, our wives and mothers, are the keepers of morality. I can make it a holy crusade. Jesus Christ, you churchy ones are so goddamn easy to manipulate.
True. I can't wait till they actually go off full mask. I mean, yeah, I you know, if Republicans actually started speaking this way, yeah, it might do everybody a favor. If Republicans actually spoke like the way they think or the way their policies function, yeah, I think it would be a great service to everybody.
I can say it's not about women. It's about the unborn. I can say it's about saving the lives of millions of innocent babies. I don't give a shit about the lives of babies, but apparently a lot of you do, or think you do, anyway. I can say abortion is murder. I can compare abortion to the Holocaust.
Unironically, a thing that happened.
And do it without an ounce of shame, because I don't give a shit about the Holocaust either. And you know what the best...
Also, these people are incapable of having shame. Like, that's the thing that you can't get them to be ashamed of their, like, abhorrent, like, policies. You can't make that the only issue anyone cares about. Yep. And, like, also by, like, appealing, right, and still get them privately for your mistresses. Exactly. Yeah, and also by, like, making sure that, you know, you have, like, the men on board with this, they'll most likely put pressure on their partners to vote the same way. So, yeah. It's very Trumpy to just dump your brain without filter. We're great if people have turned off their judgment and are just on the team come rain or shine. Yeah, that's true. It's a cult at the end of the day. There's no critical thinking, like, involved in this whatsoever. Essentially, you're just in a cult. That's it. Doesn't make any sense. You know, you're literally voting and advocating against your interest. So I don't know. It doesn't make sense. The Dutch had an election today, and the biggest party is a far-right populist party. Yikes. That's unfortunate.
Part about the Republican stance on abortion and birth control is we want to force you to get pregnant and stay pregnant and have children you don't want or can't afford, and then we want to give you no help whatsoever taking care of those children.
Right, because they'll absolutely vote against any child care or anything like that, but also pretend to care about kids. The world's on a right-wing arc, I swear. Yep. Arnaldo, thank you for the follow. Welcome.
We forced you to have. Come on. Anybody can be evil, but there ought to be some kind of an award for being that diabolically cruel. Other than the Republican nomination, I mean. It doesn't just apply to women who wanted abortions but couldn't get them, either. I see some of you judgmental Sunday school teacher types shaking your heads in disapproval. I bet you think those women have a hard life coming to them because they wanted to abort their babies. Well, I mean, I think they have a hard life coming to them just for being born women, so we agree on the what, if not the why. But don't forget, it's not just women who wanted abortions we want to punish. It's all women. Because, in case I haven't mentioned this yet, fuck you. We won't just force you to get pregnant and have children. We'll push you to get married to a man. And once you're married, we'll make it as difficult as possible to get out of that marriage if you decide it's not what you want. You want a divorce? Too bad. We'll make it as expensive and as excruciating as we can. So much so that for a lot of you, it won't even seem worth it. You need to get out of an abusive situation with your husband? Conservative men like me have been mind-fucking women in abusive relationships since time immemorial. Are you sure you aren't partially to blame? What did you do to provoke him?
Unironically, the type of logic I've heard before. I've heard that one before. God help you if you're pregnant and have any complications too. Literally, yeah. I mean, we've seen the stories. By the way, remember a while ago, Yalla King, welcome. Remember a while ago, we went over a story. We made a segment on a group of Texan women who are fighting the abortion law. Well, that number is now 20. There are now 20 women who are fighting that abortion law. But each one of those stories were incredibly horrible. They were horrible. They had and those abortion stories were the women who were fighting these abortion laws in Texas, the original 5, all wanted their kids. And because of, the circumstances, they were not able to get the abortion that they needed because the Texas legislator completely effed them out of that. And these 5 women didn't even want an abortion because they wanted their child. Without bodily autonomy, this is what we are left with. Yep. Like in 2 of the cases, in all cases, they had complications. In 2, the fetus had no skull. In 2 other complications, in 2 other situations, the fetus was threatening the lives of the twins. So I guess they were having twins, and one of them was threatening essentially to, I guess, kill both of the twins instead of just having at least one survive. The point being is that all of them wanted their children. Some of the 5 even already had children beforehand. But because of this legislature, of this law, right after Roe got overturned, they basically got that choice taken away. The medical care that they needed was completely removed from that option. It's pretty horrible. You have such great memory. Yeah, I mean, I remember certain things very well. It's too dangerous to be a woman in Texas right now, let alone a pregnant one. Right. Even if you wanted to have a child, like, things happen. There could be complications. Like pregnancy, isn't just like some like, oh, happy, nothing goes wrong. It's just 9 months and like all you do is chill and like everything's good. Like, no, things happen. Actually, things happen very frequently. And things can turn on a dime, and that person is immediately at risk of just like going of dying, or the fetus can experience like a complication, just like boom, just out of nowhere. And to take this away it's just cruel. To take this medical option away, it's just cruel. And that's what these Republicans decided to do.
Don't you think you owe it to your children? Not to mention the vow you made to God to go back and work this out. You are his wife, and that does entitle him to certain things. On top of all that, if you do somehow manage to escape a shitty marriage, funding support systems for single women isn't exactly our top priority. Did you know 80% of the single parents in the United States are women? Single mothers? I saw that statistic on TV the other day by accident. Someone started talking about women's issues and they got that bit out before I had time to turn it off and switch to one of the hardcore porn videos I frequently watch alone in disinterested silence. But I digress. 80% of single parents.
So freaking true. So freaking true.
Parents in this country are women. Do we support mandating paid family leave? Nope. Do we support?
To be fair, they don't care about funding support systems in any way. It's just like, it's just so one-sided against like women in that case that it's like it's 80%, and they won't even advocate for funding like child care or paid family leave.
Support subsidized childcare? Nope. Do we support increasing public benefits for low-income parents and children? Nope. Even you ditzy skirts ought to be noticing a pattern by now. What is the pattern?
That's right. That's socialism. Because socialism is when the government does something. And if the government does a lot of something, then that's communism.
We don't care about you. We don't care about you. We don't care about you. Sometimes, as your Republican candidate, I pretend to care about you and your interests and your opinions and your needs. But when I do that, it's for the same reason all the men in your personal lives do it, to keep you compliant and fucking quiet. That's not entirely true, though. When I pretend to care about you, it is occasionally for another reason. Acting like I give a shit about your issues can be very useful when I want to attack another group and use you for cover while I do it, and
True.
get you on my side at the same time. For example, do you really think any of us give a shit about women's and girls' sports? Seriously? Obviously not. But acting like I do gives me a legitimate sounding reason to hide behind when I bully and harass and persecute trans people. I can say things like, this isn't about hurting trans people. It's about guaranteeing the fairness of women's sports and protecting the safety and sanctity of women's only spaces. And it took a lot of practice, but I can now say that with a straight face and pretty much sound like I mean it. Even though I couldn't spit out a bigger load of horseshit if I tried.
Right.
Who gives a fuck about the fairness of women's sports? Not me.
Dude, like years ago, like people, like men would like just kind of laugh at the at like the women's leagues, like, oh, the WNBA, like who watches that shit? Oh, women's like soccer, who watches that shit? Yeah. What about the children? That's right. It's the same concept.
And does anyone believe that I've ever wasted a single moment of my life genuinely worrying about women's safety? Or the sanctity of women's spaces? Whatever the hell that even means? It's about hurting trans people. Of course it's about hurting trans people. Because a bunch of you sadistic reactionary shrews hate trans people just as much as I do. A lot of you hate a lot of people just as much as I do. That's why you're here. That's why you carry our banners and spread our message and donate to us and vote for us.
Yeah, have you noticed that like that's really like fundamentally a lot of what this has come down to? Because like it's not the policies, right? Because it'd be really strange. I mean, I guess you could perform like Olympic levels of mental gymnastics, but like it would be really strange if like a lot of these people actually like voted these Republican goals in solely based off like policy, right? That would be just very strange. If you listen to them, like a lot of them are just like, yeah, I just believe, Trump's the one who's going to fight the woke mob. you know?
That is why.
My point being is that it's a lot of feelies. The policies come, secondary. And ultimately it's the feelies that, like, it just so happens that you are bigoted towards the same people I am, and you're representing and manifesting that anger and hatred. So yeah, right on. Resist the dark side.
Isn't it? I think that must be it. What other explanation could there be for the existence of something as oxymoronic as Republican women? We do nothing for you. We disrespect you, demean you, deny you basic human rights we men wouldn't tolerate being denied for a second. We silence you and sideline you, except for a token here and there, a few members of Congress and state legislatures, an occasional governor, a presidential candidate every now and then. Why would any of you be here if not purely out of hatred and spite? Fear? Fear of us? Perhaps. Hope? Hope that if you toe the line long enough, or prove your loyalty and utility long enough, we'll trust you enough to share, really share, what we have with you someday? If that's why you're here, I've got bad news. Because it's not about trust. We don't trust you, but that's not what's keeping you from proving yourself to us. It's about respect. You'll never prove yourself to us. You'll never convince us to view you as true equals, as true partners.
Right. Also, the Bible, like, pretty much kind of answers that question for us, right?
Because we don't respect you. If we did, we wouldn't be Republicans. But hey, that doesn't mean we can't work together. There's a lot of work to do, and we need you, ladies, especially you white ladies. Well, never mind, it's all white ladies here. We need you now, just like we needed you to elect Trump and get that right-wing Supreme Court that overturned Roe, just like we needed you to elect George W. Bush and his father and Reagan and Nixon, just like we've needed you for every victory we've won since that black day in August of 1920 when the 19th Amendment went into effect. I know this sounds like one of those patronizing, women actually have the most important job of all pitches that you hear from people like me all the time, but I'm telling the truth today, and I mean this. We do need your help. I wish we didn't. But we do. The good news for you, though, is all we need from you is to just keep doing what you've been doing. We need you to go on being strong, proud, conservative women, by which I mean acting like you're above the fray, pretending to be upset by all the rancor and partisanship and division, saying that you just want people to be nice to each other and get along while you ridicule and demean and shame women who don't share your worldview and raise your children to be intolerant and cold-hearted toward those they view as others while masking it with performative concern and a shallow pantomime of compassion.
That's hiding behind, like, a religious mask. They don't see themselves as equal. Yeah.
Just like you. Most importantly, we need you to keep up that false front of pious morality.
Yeah, there it is.
Pained, worried, oh, why can't we just agree to disagree and get along with one another act while you continue to vote for us? We don't care about you. We offer you nothing but empty promises when we even bother to make them. We tolerate your participation only as much as we absolutely have to in order to get what we want, but we humor you up to a point. We feed your vain delusions that you are good and kind and decent. We hurt who you want us to hurt. We hate who you hate, including yourselves. That's what makes people like you and the Republican Party such a perfect marriage. That's all I have to say. Go home, know your place, and keep your fucking mouths shut. I despise you. Vote for me.
True. Yep, twice as many votes if they can get the wives too, and the wives must submit. So easy, exactly. It's all that. What he was saying is like, oh, the pantomime of like this shallow. I think he said shallow pantomime of like empathy. All of that is just literally just hiding behind this religious aspect of it. Because I mean, let's be honest. Or women just actually like Trump. I think there's very few of those. Who actually just like Trump. There's very few. America was supposed to elect the first female president in 2016. It's her turn. National polls mostly to most feminists, it was unimaginable that America, especially American women, would embrace Donald Trump and the man who had shown the sort of contempt for the female half of the electorate, which even bigots with political ambitions would normally reserve for small minorities. America had, lest we forget, heard him cuss one woman journalist for bleeding out of her whatever, blame Bill Clinton's infidelities on Hillary's inability to satisfy him. Jesus, I forgot about that. Women voters did vote for Clinton in higher numbers than Trump, but not by the margin required. The bitter truth for those women's rights groups is that women were pivotal to Trump's success. Exit polls revealed among white women that Trump secured an outright majority of 53%, but how could this happen? What sort of women made it possible, and what sort of role that they play in the incoming administration and indeed Trump's America? Not for the first time, American feminists have been reminded that women in the U.S. are far from uniform in terms of political ideology. Many are deeply reactionary, and some are just increasingly energetic about it. If November's results, and particularly Trump's advantage among white women, I think he touched on that, strikes as many as a bolt from the blue, that is probably because they've not been paying adequate attention to the American right these last several years. The Tea Party women, I profiled a new generation of conservative women activists, many of whom became active in politics with the launch of the Tea Party movement after Obama's election. The right-wing movements in U.S. politics are nothing new. The Tea Party is distinctive in the leading role that women played as leaders. Decentralized and operating through social media, it allowed conservative women opportunities to become leaders in their own right, bypassing more hierarchical traditional conservative organizations, including the Republican Party. And some female leaders of the movement have achieved extraordinary profile. Think of Sarah Palin and Michelle Bachmann. So how do conservative women thinking go? Margaret Thatcher made great media play with housewife economics. Angela Merkel played the same trick, invoking the thrifty Swabian house rule. Tea Party women also adopt gendered rhetoric to promote conservative politics, often using a motherhood frame to argue that reducing the size and scope of government is good for American families. As Jenny Beth Martin, the co-founder of the Tea Party Patriots Group, told me, when it comes to their own personal family checkbook, women are the only ones who pay such close attention to it. We're saying that we want the government to do the same thing. Trump, however, is far from a model of housewife economist, and not only because of his gender, support for him was far from uniform among Tea Party leaders during the primary phase. Many prominent Tea Partiers, including Martin, initially endorsed Ted Cruz from Texas because they worried that Trump's populist streak could steer him away from fiscal conservatism. But other mama grizzlies, the motherhood term popularized by Palin, maintained that American families are threatened by unsustainable federal government spending, found reason to support Trump. These included Katrina Pearson, a co-founder of one of the largest local Tea Parties in Dallas, Texas, who was hired by the Trump campaign as a national spokesperson in 2015. She told Politico that Trump's not politically correct. He sort of calls it like he sees it. Yeah, I mean, sure. Palin, an inspiration figure for many Tea Party women and early Trump backer, also cited the willingness to tear the veil off the political system as a reason for her endorsement. Like, you have to be very careful of steering into territory of removing people's autonomy just because they're not your people. Yeah, that's fair. What do you think, Muslim women who wear their hijab full face veil, do you think that it's an individual choice, or do you think that's submission to fundamentalism? I mean, it depends, I guess. I mean, I don't know the answer to that. This, so not Senator, yeah, but like, this is what's wild to me, right? Like, he could brag about all this stuff. He bragged about all this stuff and they still voted for him. Most Republican women chose Trump despite his boorish behavior because of their opposition to Clinton and her policies. They, like most GOP, support gun rights rather than gun control and oppose. Like, so yeah, this makes more sense. This makes more sense. Like, just Clinton was a bad candidate. And despite all of the things that Trump said and promised to do, which completely went against their interests, they somehow still would rather bite that bullet. It doesn't make any sense. It's not logical, but it is what it is. For example, I've met people who, when confronted with that question, will defend people who wear the hijab, but will widely denounce any woman who projects conservative ideas about family and motherhood. But I would say that these opinions are a little contradictory. They can't really sit simultaneously beside each other. Yeah, I mean, like, if you want to wear a hijab because that's what you want as a personal choice, that's fine. I don't think that's, like, controversial. It just seems a little weird, right? You either have to kind of trust the autonomy or consider the possibility of external pressure on those choices. Yeah, I mean, some genuinely do just want to wear a hijab, and some genuinely do follow the faith because they want to follow the faith, and like, that's fine. That isn't the issue. All right, folks, we got two more stories. I think many conservative women deeply believe in it. I think they're very strong. There's a very strong, stronger than most force that drives conservative women to project that kind of idea that women is the heart of the family type idea. Yeah, and I don't think there's anything wrong with like a woman considering women to be the heart of the family, which I mean, sure. But like the thing is, like, it's just strange and contradictory to then vote completely against your interest. Because these conservative people, they don't care. They don't respect that. They don't respect how these conservative women feel. And in fact, maybe it may be the case that that these women think that that's how they accomplish those goals, but there is something wrong with voting against your best interest. Yeah, it just doesn't make any sense. That's the conundrum. It doesn't make any sense. Extreme overtime, Nana. Oh, wait, you have extreme overtime. Then there are countries that do such things. Afghanistan, for example, we tell Afghans that their rule is wrong. Yeah, if they're forcing people, to a certain thing, yeah, that's wrong, right? Like if you're forcing your population, to have to by law do, I don't know, by law you have to wear a hijab or you will be, threatened with, legal actions. Like that's wrong. That's wrong. It don't matter. Acknowledge that, by the way, I'd likely piss off at this kind of Socratic approach to discussion, but because I think the back and forth helps everyone understand it. I don't actually advocate for some of the ideas. Yeah, I would say that they're that they would be wrong. Yes, if your government is forcing you, like if the government here was forcing everybody to wear a cross, it would be wrong, right? The same way as like if Afghanistan government is forcing women to wear a hijab and cover their faces, like by law, like if you don't wear this face covering because of some religious whatever, then you will be punished. That's wrong. I think the Socratic method is the only way to do it, right? You force the other person to justify you force to justify that person's logic by asking questions. To be fair, we did discuss that at the time of the withdrawal, and it was effectively leading to a regression of living standards for many women in the country. Yes, but then we're in a catch-22 because, like, what do we do? Just keep occupation? Because, like, we weren't doing that great. Afghanistan wasn't doing all that great, regardless. So I guess it's a catch-22. I guess leaving makes the situation worse because now the Taliban is there, but also like we kind of made that problem. We kind of made a mess, a whole mess of things. So it's really, yeah, it's yeah. Oh, that one's a tough one. The government can't tell you to cover up your Fruit of Looms. Fruit of the Loom. All right, we got two more articles. January 6th rioter, insurrectionist, found guilty after judge calls defense argument gobbledygook. That's one of my new favorite words. Since listening to the Majority Report, I've absorbed it into my lexicon. January 6th insurrectionist who represented himself using the sovereign citizen argument, which a judge called BS and gobbledygook, was found guilty. Taylor, whatever his name is, will be sentenced later. On January 6th, Trump sent supporters to Congress to stop the certification of his defeat to Joe Biden by telling them to fight like hell. According to U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia, this insurrectionist came to the Capitol with a megaphone strapped to his back and joined the insurrection at the base of the Southwest Staircase, yada, yada, yada. This insurrectionist followed right behind the retreating police officers and was one of the first insurrectionists to reach the top of the Southwest Staircase, where he was confronted with a line of police barricade and police officers protecting the Capitol. This insurrectionist organized and coordinated other insurrectionists to assault the police line, specifically using his megaphone. He directed rioters to move up to the police line and then orchestrated an attack using bike racks. As a result of this attack, at least one police officer was injured. This insurrectionist was arrested in February of 2021 and became one of the more than 1,200 people being charged to the riot over the riot. More than 400 have been sentenced to jail after some being convicted of sedition. Trump was impeached for a second time over this insurrection, but acquitted. He now faces 13 state and 4 federal charges over his attempted election subversion, among 91 criminal charges in total, but nonetheless leads the Republican Party by vast margins. It's like, here's a question. If you see like consistently that like the Republican primary polls are saying that Trump is winning by double digits, do we just discard those polls? I don't understand. You may be a sovereign citizen, but you don't have diplomatic immunity. In court last week, this insurrectionist mounted his own defense, attempting to cite the sovereign citizen ideology as defined by the ADL. The ADL. Sovereign citizens form an extreme anti-government movement whose members believe the government has no authority over them. This insurrectionist said that he represented all his sins and the case should be discharged, but the judge was not buying it. Telling this insurrection that his arguments are BS and gobbledygook, Judge Lambert said that when they find you guilty, you're going to jail. If you could get a lesser sentence if you weren't so hard-headed. On Tuesday, they did find this insurrectionist guilty on 7 charges, 3 of them felonies. The charges were obstruction of an official proceeding, assaulting or resisting an impeding officer, civil disorder, entering and remaining in a restricted building or grounds, disorderly and disruptive conduct in a restricted building or grounds, engaging in physical violence in a restricted building or grounds, and act of physical violence in the Capitol grounds or building. Yeah, they're not sending their best, huh? And the last article of the day. Iowa woman guilty of stuffing ballot boxes in the husband's congressional nomination race. Hey, you want to take a wild guess at which party this belonged to? Yeah. Wife of a northwestern Iowa county supervisor was convicted on Tuesday of a scheme to stuff the ballot box in her husband's unsuccessful race for a Republican nomination to run for Congress. The Sioux City Journal reports that jurors deliberated 6 hours before finding Kim Taylor guilty of 26 counts of fraud. Of providing false information in registering and voting, 3 counts of fraudulent registration, and 23 counts of fraudulent voting. Prosecutors said Taylor, a Vietnam native, approached numerous voters of Vietnamese heritage with limited English comprehension and filled out and signed the election forms and ballots on behalf of them and their English-speaking children. They said the scheme was designed to help her husband, Jeremy Taylor, a former Iowa House member who finished a distant third in the race for the Republican nomination, to run for Iowa's 4th District congressional seat. Despite that loss, he ultimately won the election to the Woodbury County Board of Supervisors that fall. No one testified to seeing Kim personally sign any of the documents, but her presence in each voter's homes when the forms were filled out was a common thread throughout the case. Jeremy Taylor, who met his wife while teaching in Vietnam, has not been charged but is named an unindicted co-conspirator. The case remains under investigation. The assistant U.S. attorney, Ron Timmons, one of 3 prosecutors who presented the federal government's case, said he couldn't comment on any potential future indictments. Tim Taylor, who remains free pending sentencing, faces up to 5 years of prison on each charge. Now is the time for empathy for a family that is suffering, her attorney said, adding that her focus is to get the best outcome at sentencing. What's that phrase? Every accusation is just a confession, right? Same. It's always the same with these people. Brown did not ultimately respond to an email message from the AP about the case or the couple's reaction. Woodbury County election officials became aware of the possible voter fraud in September of 2020 when 2 Iowa State University students from Sioux City requested absentee ballots only to learn that ballots had already been cast in their name. They were allowed to withdraw those ballots and cast their own, but the Woodbury County auditor, who is also Pat Gill, who's also the election commissioner, kept the fraudulent ballots. When processing absentee ballots on election night, workers notified Gill that the handwriting on a number of them appeared to be similar. Most voter fraud cases involve one voter casting a single ballot in another person's name, said the U.S. Attorney Richard Evans, who helped prosecute Taylor's case. Despite what's in the media, voter fraud is extremely rare. To have someone vote dozens of times for several people, that is rare. Not only that, not only did they catch that, but they were able to rectify that as well. So that brings the whole idea of like, oh, well, we need all this. Like, dude, relax, okay? Relax. The amount of voter fraud is incredibly rare, and we have systems in place to rectify this. So please don't suggest solutions to problems that don't exist. And it's just another case of every accusation is just a confession, right? We pay attention to the polls insofar as they are accurate regarding to the people polled until polling companies find a way to take a proper sampling of the entire population, not just landline users of SMS. There will always be a gaping margin of error that you can pilot a super tanker through. Yes and no. I mean, you can like estimate that the margin of error is a little bit higher than they claim, but you know, they've been fairly accurate in terms of like when you aggregate all the data that you take in. Also, like even some of the bigger polls are starting to use not just landlines. I saw a poll by oh man, I forgot. But they use landlines and online portals. And it was just a recent one too. Christ, I forgot. And it was a national poll. And it was a presidential poll. And it had Trump. It had Trump leading by 4 points. And that had a mix of landlines and online data. I wish I could remember. I just saw it too. Well, if I find it, I'll just post it on the Discord. Check under U.S. News. Shaman's at Dollar General. What, Snickers Mini? Was that an ad? Think of how many people you could have fed for what it costs to count and recount the votes. True. Yeah, watch the John Oliver thing at the Dollar General of the dollar store. This is a couple of days ago. All right, folks, I got to get out of here. All right, it's time to start the long. Was getting food. Oh, you were getting food. It's good. I mean, John Oliver is pretty decent, I would say. All right, speaking of food, I'm hungry. It's time to start the long weekend, folks. I hope everyone gets to spend some time with family and just kind of chill out. Thank you guys for coming. I appreciate it. If you guys want to support the channel, don't forget to hit the follow button and all that awesome stuff. Thank you for all the follows and subscriptions and biddies. Working, that's a crime. That's criminal. Thank you guys for your support. You guys are what makes this channel grow. If you want to support the channel but cannot do so monetarily, please subscribe to the YouTube. It really does help us out. Happy Wednesday indeed. As the link is there. Also join the Discord. Thank you, Ground Level News. I appreciate it. Thank you. Join the Discord. We are trying to make... Ooh, got some stuff on my mic. We are trying to make a movie night happen on Saturday about 6 p.m. Eastern Time. So if you want more updates on that, keep up with it on the Discord. I might do like another Twitch short tomorrow and a Twitch short on Friday. Well, maybe just Twitch short tomorrow since there's no stream tomorrow. Don't forget, folks, tomorrow there's no stream. And yeah, if you want to join, and if not, if anything, we'll just try again. Okay, so as far as I know, that's going to be the plan, and we'll see. Off work at 7 this Saturday. Well, that's fine. Come through, even if you see part of the movie. Yeah, just quit your job. You know what? True. Just quit your job. Tell them this is more important. All right. That being said, thank you guys for joining. I appreciate it. As always, please stay safe. Please take care of each other. I love you all, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. Stay safe, everybody. Have fun. Hope everything's chill. See ya. Thank you, Michael Hasser. Thank you, Heat. Hang tight, everybody. We're heading out in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bye-bye.